Chapter 1. The Introduction. In the small, unassuming town of Eldridge Hollow, where the thick fog clung to the chilled ground like a shroud, a cloud of unease settled. The streets, lined with antique homes that wore their history like a badge, were seldom busy after dusk. Streetlights flickered, casting ghostly shadows that danced along deserted sidewalks, whispering secrets of the past. It was a Tuesday evening in late October, when a disruption shattered the mundane silence. An unsuspecting postal worker stumbled upon an abandoned car on the outskirts of town, its paint dull and the tires half sunk in autumn leaves. Even without the faint scent of decay that filled the air, the state of the vehicle told a story, unsettling, one that began to ripple through the town. As news spread like wildfire, residents spoke in hushed tones, glancing nervously out of their windows. Reports of the missing girl, a vibrant 22-year-old named Eliza Hart, quickly propelled the quiet town into turmoil. She had last been seen walking home from her shift at the local diner, her laughter echoing against the fading colors of the fall foliage. Now, her absence left an echo far more haunting. That evening, the local police began piecing together the fragments of Eliza's last known moments. They deployed search teams, convened discussions, and exchanged anxious glances. In the stillness of the night, the specter of uncertainty loomed large, marking the beginning of a chilling investigation that would unearth buried secrets and test the very fabric of the community. Chapter 2. The Victim. Eliza Hart was the kind of woman who lit up a room with her presence. Her laughter was infectious, weaving through the fabric of Eldridge Hollow like a tender melody, echoing in the hearts of those who knew her. Friends described her as spirited and fiercely independent, with dreams that reached far beyond the town's borders. But on that fateful Tuesday, the vibrancy that characterized Eliza's life dimmed sharply, leaving only bewilderment and sorrow in its wake. Born and raised in Eldridge Hollow, Eliza was known for her compassionate nature, often volunteering at the shelter and helping her neighbors with simple tasks. She had recently enrolled in online classes, a testament to her ambition to become a social worker. Her nurturing spirit resonated with those around her. And for her, home was not just a place, but a community she cherished. As days passed since her disappearance, her absence created a palpable void, leaving her friends desperately clinging to the hope of her return. The local police combed through her social media, evidence of a young woman with an optimistic outlook. Memories captured in photographs depicted road trips with friends, spontaneous adventures, and cozy evenings at the diner where she worked. But as officers delved deeper into her life, they unearthed discrepancies that painted a different picture of few troubling encounters with strangers, unsettling messages and foreboding interactions that hinted at something darker lurking beneath her cheerful surface. Her friends, poring over their last conversations with Eliza, recounted her mention of feeling watched in the days before she vanished. Fear mingled with regret as they finally recognized the sign. The community they all thought so safe now felt tainted, and a sense of dread settled in the pit of their stomachs, heralding an approaching storm. Chapter 3. The Crime Scene. The following morning, just as the first light of dawn pierced through the lingering fog, Local police gathered at the site of the abandoned car. The metallic hue of the vehicle, dulled and scratched from neglect, seemed to gleam ominously in the rising sun. Officers cordoned off the area with bright yellow tape, a stark contrast to the muted colors of the overcast sky. Each investigator moved with a determined urgency, aware that the scene could hold critical clues to Eliza's disappearance. As the forensic team swept through the area, photographs were taken, evidence bags sealed, and discussions buzzed in low tone. The car's interior, cluttered with fast food wrappers and a frayed seatbelt, appeared harmless at first glance. But the veteran detectives knew that every detail counted. Every fiber or stray hair could be the key to unlocking the mystery. They meticulously searched, noting a small, crumpled piece of paper tucked under the front passenger seat, a crumpled receipt from a local gas station with a smeared timestamp barely readable. In the car's trunk, the atmosphere shifted. The air turned thicker, charged with a haunting sense of unease. It was a somber realization the trunk was empty save for a layer of dust that suggested it had not been opened in some time. Still, the space felt ominous, as if it instinctively guarded secrets meant to remain hidden. Back at the station, detectives dug into the surrounding vicinity. Eldridge Hollow was a town with eyes little escape notice, even in its quiet hours. Witnesses poured in, each recounting snippets of conversations that Eliza had shared, all woven together by the common thread of anxiety in her voice. Hints of shadowy figures loomed in conversations, but nothing concrete surfaced. Still, the feeling lingered. Eliza was not just missing. Something sinister lurked beneath the surface of this tranquil town. Chapter 4. The Early Investigation. As the sun rose higher, casting longer shadows across Eldridge Hollow, the local police department launched a full-scale investigation into Eliza Hart's disappearance. A dedicated team of detectives gathered in a cramped conference room, surrounded by pinned photographs and maps that traced her last movements. The air was thick with urgency. Each officer felt the weight of the case pressing down on them, the thirst for answers propelling their efforts. Detective Sarah Blake, a seasoned investigator with a keen intuition, took charge of the case. She leaned over a corkboard littered with Eliza's photos, juxtaposed with the scattered timelines of her final hours. Her eyes sharpened as she identified discrepancies. Nearby, Officer Collins scrolled through the footage from the gas station where the receipt had originated. The grainy surveillance video offered a glimpse inside. Eliza stood at the counter, exchanging quiet words with the attendant, a man of moderate build and tired eyes. They wasted no time reaching out to the attendant, hoping he could provide insight into Eliza's mindset that day. When confronted with the request for information, he appeared evasive, fidgeting under the questions and revealing little more than had already been observed. Detective Blake scribbled notes, instincts telling her that he was hiding something. As the day gave way to dusk, they organized search parties combing the nearby woods, equipped with flashlights and walkie-talkies. The murmured hopes of a safe return intermingled with unsaid fears as each rustling leaf signaled both promise and dread. The tension escalated, especially when the dogs picked up Eliza's scent farther into the underbrush. They had discovered an old hunting cabin, neglected but seemingly in the line of her potential path, homing a chilling discovery that would compound the mystery surrounding her disappearance. These early days of the investigation were a crucible, with steel-willed officers confronting each new lead with reverence but tempered by doubt. In the core of Eldridge Hollow, a community once defined by cheer now sat poised on the edge of anxiety. teetering between hope and despair. Chapter 5. The Dead Ends. As the days turned into weeks, the grim reality of Eliza Hart's disappearance settled heavily over Eldridge Hollow. The once vibrant town had transformed, its streets steeped in a pervasive unease that encompassed the lives of its residents. With each passing day, the thrill of new leads began to dwindle, replaced by a suffocating sense of stagnation, akin to a fading ember. Detective Sarah Blake had poured her heart and soul into the investigation, her dedication unwavering even as progress slowed. Each day in the office felt longer than the last, with officers recounting the same interviews and reviewing the same leads, but finding nothing substantial. The gas station attendant's alibi checked out. He was nowhere near the vicinity of the woods on the night Eliza went missing. The unending cycle of dead ends was discouraging. The walls of the conference room seemingly closing in. One evening, the team gathered once more, reviewing the evidence in a desperate effort to unearth something overlooked. The crumpled receipt was scrutinized, but the trail it led to was cold. An anonymous tip that came in, suggesting a suspicious man seen loitering near the diner during Eliza's shift, ultimately yielded nothing. His presence was merely coincidental. Each hint flared brightly, but quickly fizzled into nothingness, leaving frustration etched across the faces of the detectives. Outside the precinct, the weight of uncertainty began to fracture community ties. Friends of Eliza, once unified in their hope, now whispered allegations among themselves. Distrust brewed like an ominous storm cloud, casting shadows on childhood friendships as speculations mounted over who else in their midst could possess dark intentions. The bond of familiarity frayed, leaving a discernible tension thick enough to cut. Finally, as autumn leaves blanketed the ground, Detective Blake stood alone in the conference room, reflecting on the stark contrast between Eliza's warmth and the chilling void her absence had created. With every clue that merged into an abysmal landscape of darkness, she resolved to keep searching, haunted by the belief that the truth lay buried beneath the fallow soil of Eldridge Hollow, waiting to be unearthed. Chapter 6. A Break in the Case. Just as disillusionment threatened to take root within the investigative team, a glimmer of hope emerged on a crisp November morning. The routine crackle of the radio filled the air as a fresh lead came through. A witness had come forward with details about a strange vehicle seen parked near Eliza's apartment on the night of her disappearance. The witness, an elderly man named Harold, recounted the sighting with clarity, his memory unfurling like an old map. He described a dark SUV parked inconspicuously beneath a streetlight that provided just enough illumination to outline its contour. Harold reported that he had seen a young woman engage with someone inside the fleeting moment that passed before he moved on with his walk. The conversation was hushed, but he noted the man's heavily tattooed forearms, a striking detail that seemed to cling to his memory. Detective Sarah Blake immediately seized the opportunity. They ran the descriptions through databases, cross-referencing with known offenders in the area. As the pieces fit together, investigators discovered a match: an individual named Lucas Tattoo Martinez, a transient with a history of minor offenses, often found lingering around Eldridge Hollow. They coordinated a stakeout, positioning officers discreetly around the local hangout. They hoped to catch a glimpse of Martinez, whose reputation as a drifter made him an unlikely candidate for permanent settlement. Yet, all the more suspicious given the sudden uptick in interest surrounding the case. Just when desperation threatened to reclaim its hold, detectives observed a flash of movement. The unmistakable tattoo and the dark SUV came into view. Adrenaline surged as they approached, excitement mingling with tension as they prepped to confront him. With renewed energy, the team rallied around the fledgling lead. The threads began to intertwine once more. The mystery of Eliza Hart moved closer to unraveling, the shadows of Eldridge Hollow dimming as dawn flickered in the distance. Chapter 7. The Suspect. The small interrogation room in the precinct buzzed with tension as Detective Sarah Blake and her partner, Officer Collins, prepared to question Lucas Martinez. They could feel the weight of the moment pressing against the walls, thickening the air as they waited for the man to arrive. When the door opened, Martinez shuffled in, his demeanor exuding an unsettling combination of nonchalance and wariness. Clad in a worn jacket, his tattoos told silent stories across his skin, some faded and curling like leaves left too long in the sun. Once seated, Martinez leaned back with a smug air, flashing a calculated smile that quickly faded upon meeting Detective Blake's steely gaze. She wasted no time, launching into probing questions, her voice steady yet edged with authority. "We need to talk about Eliza Hart," she stated firmly, unyielding. His reaction was immediate. A flicker of recognition crossed his face, followed by an unexpected disinterest. He shrugged, feigning ignorance. "Never heard of her." Blake pressed forward, recounting the witness testimony. The SUV. The fleeting conversation here was a thread they had to tug. "You were seen with her the night she disappeared?" she countered, noting his shift. Martinez's bravado dissolved. The sharp detachment melted into a mix of irritation and concern, revealing cracks in his facade. "I was just passing through," he stammered, his voice now thicker, lacking the confidence he had hatched from just moments ago. Despite his attempts to downplay the encounter, the tone of the interrogation shifted. Blake leaned in, her gaze unflinching. "Your past doesn't suggest innocence, Lucas. Tell us where you were that night. Did you hurt her?" With each question, the atmosphere grew tense, electricity sparking with every accusation. Yet Martinez continued to deflect. But as the minutes crawled, his resolve wavered, shadows of doubt filling his expression. Dark secrets hung in the air, muddled by the implications of fear, desperation, and potential guilt. Detective Blake could feel the turn, a moment where the suspect stood on the verge of revelation or further denial. Each breath in the room became a shared heartbeat, with the lingering dread that the truth might just slip away once more. Chapter 8. The Trial. Months had passed since that fateful interrogation, but the echoes of Eliza Hart's case still reverberated in the halls of justice. The trial had begun, a public spectacle, drawn from the shadows of fear that gripped Eldridge Hollow. Families packed the courtroom each day, their faces a mixture of hope and trepidation, eyes glued to the defendant's table, where Lucas Martinez sat, his demeanor a chameleon of stoicism and surrender. The prosecution presented their case methodically. Detective Sarah Blake took the stand first, outlining the investigation from the first moments of Eliza's disappearance to the breakthrough with the witness and the subsequent interrogation. Each piece felt like both a revelation and an unraveling, as her words painted a vivid tapestry of a life punctuated by vanished dreams. As the evidence unfolded, the atmosphere grew heavy. The crumpled receipt from the gas station was brought forth, alongside surveillance footage revealing Martinez's presence nearby. Witnesses recounted their interactions with Eliza, revealing her cautious demeanor in contrast to the unpredictability of the man now on trial. The prosecution pressed for accountability, desperate to make the specter of Eliza's absence tangible before the jury. In stark contrast, the defense attorney wove a narrative of doubt. He portrayed Martinez as a victim of circumstance, an easy scapegoat for a community desperate for resolution. It was a calculated strategy that struck at the heart of the case. No body, no crime, he emphasized, challenging the core argument of culpability, reminding jurors that a lack of physical evidence raised questions. In the gallery, Eliza's friends exchanged glances, their grief palpable, a shared understanding sealing their fate as they sat in the silent storm of uncertainty. Yet, with every testimony, they held fast the hope that truth would prevail. As the final arguments loomed, the air thickened, and a collective breath, held with anxiety, seemed to reverberate through the courtroom. The jury's duty hung heavy, and as they deliberated, every moment stretched into eternity. The weight of Eliza's lost future bore down, intertwining with the lives of those who loved her, caught in the fragile balance between justice and despair. Chapter 9. The Aftermath. As the gavel struck, signaling the verdict, a wave of tension electrified the courtroom. The jury returned, eyes stoic as they filed into their seats. The air felt thick, as though the entirety of Eldridge Hollow held its breath in unison. The foreman stood, his voice steady yet weighed down by the gravity of the moment. "We, the jury, find the defendant, Lucas Martinez, guilty of the charges brought against him." A gasp echoed through the gallery, followed by a tumult of emotions, relief, sorrow, anger, and loss. Eliza's friends embraced, tears flowing freely as they clutched one another, united in a moment of bittersweet victory. Yet, the gaping wound of their tragedy lingered, the emptiness of a life stolen and far eclipsing any sense of closure. In the week that followed, Eldridge Hollow faced the reckoning of truth and the specter of healing. The trial had drawn the community together, yet it had also unearthed the hidden fractious whispers of neighbor-turned-suspect had bred distrust among those once close. Friendships that thrived on shared memories now lay supported by the sharp weight of suspicion. Detective Sarah Blake returned to her duties, the burden of the case still threading through her mind. While justice had been served, the reality of what had transpired gnawed at her the knowledge that even a conviction couldn't mend the grief etched in the hearts of those left behind. The fireplace that warmed these people's lives now held a cold chill, a dissonance with the laughter that once filled these streets. In one of her quiet moments, Blake walked the path Eliza once tread, surrounded by rustling leaves and the murmur of everyday life. It felt hollow without her presence. The diner, once a beacon of happiness, remained. The spirits of those lost now transformed into whispers against the walls. As the days turned to nights, a lingering question haunted the town. How does one move forward in the wake of such devastation? With Eliza's memory woven through the fabric of their lives, the community faced a long journey toward healing. They had glimpsed the darkness within, yet amid the sorrow, they found strength in each other, pledging that Eliza's light would never be forgotten. Chapter 10. Reflection. Time passed with a heavy cloak draped over Eldridge Hollow. Seasons changed, but the scars left by Eliza's disappearance remained indelible. The chatter around town had shifted from speculation to remembrance, a collective pursuit to honor her memory. Local gatherings became infused with stories of her vibrant spirit, laughter fading into bittersweet recollections that felt like echoes, reverberating through their interconnected lives. Detective Sarah Blake stood at the edge of a small vigil held in Eliza's honor, surrounded by flickering candles and flowers. Faces of friends and family glimmered in the warm glow of candles, shadows dancing the rising smoke. They spoke her name, invoking the life stolen far too soon. The sense of camaraderie among them fostered healing, finding solace in shared sorrow. In quiet moments of reflection, Blake was reminded that justice did not fill the void left behind. It was a mere gesture against the chaos that befell their lives. In the throes of her memories, she pondered the delicate balance of life, fragile yet relentless. A cycle defined by both tragedy and triumph. As the candlelight twinkled in the twilight, an unspoken vow united the town. They would carry Eliza's spirit with them, safeguarding her legacy through community and connection. For every life touched by the shadow cast upon them, there was an inherent strength that would ensure that her name would never fade, forever a beacon guiding their paths forward.